A dramatic and dangerous escalation unfolded across the Middle East as the United States and Israel launched coordinated military strikes on Iran, marking one of the most serious confrontations in the region in decades, according to reports from Reuters. Explosions were reported in Tehran and multiple strategic locations as Israeli and American forces targeted Iranian military and leadership-linked facilities, with the stated aim of crippling Iran's missile capabilities and halting what they describe as an advancing nuclear threat. U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed what he called major combat operations, saying the action was intended not only to protect American and Israeli security interests, but also to give the Iranian people what he described as an opportunity to determine their own future. Israeli officials later claimed that Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was among the individuals targeted during the strikes, though sources indicated he had been moved from Tehran to a secure location before the attacks. Iranian state-linked media reported that several senior commanders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and political figures were killed, while confirming that key civilian leadership figures remained alive. In response, Iran announced the launch of a large-scale retaliatory operation, firing missiles and deploying drones toward Israeli territory and U.S. military bases across the region, declaring that all American assets and interests were now considered legitimate targets. Explosions were subsequently reported in Israel, Bahrain, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, with witnesses describing loud blasts near major cities including Doha, Abu Dhabi, and Haifa, and smoke seen rising from several locations. Iran's Revolutionary Guard stated that the retaliation would continue until what they termed the decisive defeat of their enemies, signaling the possibility of a prolonged and widening conflict. The Pentagon confirmed that U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and senior military leadership were monitoring the operation closely alongside the president from Florida, while warning that American casualties were possible despite efforts to minimize risks to personnel. As tensions surged, global airlines suspended flights across large parts of the Middle East, with airspace over Iran effectively closed and commercial aviation rerouted to avoid conflict zones, causing widespread travel disruption. International reactions poured in rapidly, with European Union Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas describing the situation as perilous and urging adherence to international humanitarian law, while confirming that European naval missions in the Red Sea had been placed on high alert. Australia publicly backed U.S. efforts to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, while Norway and several other countries warned that the strikes risked igniting a broader regional war and called for restraint and renewed diplomatic engagement. Russia sharply criticized the operation, with senior officials accusing Washington of using negotiations as a cover for military action and warning that history would judge the consequences of escalation. Jordan's military reported intercepting missiles over its territory, underscoring how the conflict was already spilling across borders. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign ministry declared that diplomacy had been effectively abandoned by Washington and its allies, asserting that Iran's response would be comprehensive and sustained. Financial markets reacted nervously, oil prices rose amid fears of supply disruptions, and shipping lanes faced renewed risks as military forces across the region moved to high alert. Despite the violence, President Trump reiterated in a televised message that the operation was aimed at long-term security and urged the Iranian population to take control of their destiny once the military campaign concludes, echoing similar statements from Israeli leadership. As night fell across the region, new explosions continued to be reported. Air defense systems remained active, and uncertainty deepened over how far the confrontation would spread, with diplomats warning that the coming hours and days could determine whether the crisis stabilizes or escalates into a full-scale regional war with global consequences.